Alright, so we're gonna get into something probably a little bit overdue. Gonna finally actually do a build video. Uh, this is my current PvP build, and pretty much how I build it, how I run it, and go from there. Shoot, hit the wrong button again. All right. For the essences, your head, your helmet, I don't feel like it matters quite so much. Um, you could do the exploding palm. It's a honestly more of a utility skill. It's got a pretty sick range. You know, I jump in, I jump out, running an extra palm. You know, that gives me one more jump, which would be nice. A lot of the sanctuary ones, you know, I'm not running sanctuary on my build right now. It is there. It is possible. If you run sanctuary, you're gonna want to run one of these three mods. The stun ring is, you know, kind of meta right now. Um, the other another helmet option, if you're not running that stun ring, this Purity's Thought, you dispel harmful effect from the target. Now they say from the target, that's you primarily. You can shield allies, so you can in effect cleanse them also. But honestly, I'm just gonna swap that right now. I'm gonna play around with that later. It's this like it's just a utility. It's a good utility skill. The other one I was playing with up until today. I just had this pensive crown on there. Shield of Zen duration increased by 30%. Your Shield of Zen, Shield of Zen is pretty much the monk skill. For 5 seconds, it prevents all effects which cause loss of control of a character. Protecting an ally will cause you to charge, blah, blah, blah. Alright, so you got 5 seconds, or for me, 16,000 damage. And they can't cause you to lose, you know, they can't cause a loss of control effect. You're just immune to it. It's it's the it's the most OP move about a monk. The now the the thing of it is, all right. So I can run 30% more length. This shield will last 30% longer. Okay, so that will make, you know, like another second and a half roughly. Yeah. The problem you'll see is that the shield is actually getting taken off faster than that. Like the damage, you know, it's gonna absorb the damage, and then as far as I can tell, the shield's gone. Like like once I blow through that damage, I don't have, you know, the full 5 seconds of uh, immunity. So I feel like kind of that extra 30% is just not as OP. So the other option that I think could run, could potentially make a difference, is the numeralization. I get a 30% chance to detonate the exploding palm bleed effect by any other attack. It gives me a little bit more damage potential, but yeah, because the exploding palm. Enemies. Here we go. Enemies that die while bleeding will explode for 7,612 or 618 damage, and that can crit. So crit is double damage. You can hit someone potentially, with my stats, for like 14k damage if you proc the exploding palm. So having that numeralization, you got a 30% chance to be able to explode that and cause that damage. It's probably worth looking into. It's probably worth running with. But the moral of the story is you want to run one of those three, unless you're running Inner Sanctuary. Honestly, I kind of talked myself into running the bleed effect. Alright, for your chest, you're looking at, I'm running Cyclone Strike, the Dust Storm, and Pairs Enemy Vision. You don't necessarily have to run Cyclone Strike. If you do, I think you want to run a modifier. You want to run something that is going to lay a Cyclone Strike down on the field and that you can run away from. It's pretty nice. So as such, running the Vortex Cyclone Strike, it doesn't work. You can run close to an enemy and do damage, but it's not gonna vacuum them into you. The Storm Spirit Cyclone Strike generates a tornado that continually damages all enemies. That does roughly the same thing that the Dust Storm does. You just you're laying it down on this field and running away from it. Seven-sided strike triggers exploding palm. That's very, very, for PvE, that could be nice. It'll basically do the same thing as the helmet, but this is an always triggers it. The problem is for PvP, landing the bleed effect on someone is easier said than done, and then the additional triggering it with seven-sided strike, yeah, that's a lot of skill required for something that might hit a crit for 14k damage. I'm not messing with this in PvP. Inner Sanctuary grants a shield. That's the 8,000 damage is not big. The only time I would use this move is if you wanted to buff your allies. If you're running Vishtus, you give that attack speed and movement speed bonus. This allows you to share it to allies. If you're in, a Rite of Exile or something, you're on comms, you can communicate to teammates, and they can take advantage of that buff. That's something I could potentially see actually being good. Outside of that, I mean, for running regular battlegrounds solo, you just don't have the communication to really be able to use that effectively. Let's see, wave of light range increased. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, and on top of that, you only really need this to spread your Vishtu buff if you're not running the damage increase or the defense up. Actually, I forget if defense up procs it or not, but you can combine this with any sanctuary, and it will buff you and your allies, and basically proc Vishtu. That's yeah. It's only if you're trying to proc Vishtu. Yeah, increased wit range, decreased cooldown. I really like the concept of this specific pledge, but the counterattack only deals like 2,000 damage, and it's just not like that's hardly anything. Like you're better off getting the movement speed. The movement speed is very OP. And I'm just gonna go out and say, unless you're running Cyclone Strike, you're better off getting that movement speed. That movement speed is very OP. Now, for me, for this build, 7-sided strike damage reduction. I love this. This makes the Vishtu build. It just makes it work. Number one, you're proccing the buff, so you're getting your 30% speed buff for your primary, 30% attack speed buff. That affects your primary attacks, and it makes your other attacks proc faster. Looking down through here, the main one I see a lot of people use is Freedom's Gale. It's that move that you see that, it knocks people up in the air a little bit and stuns them. It's a very nice move. Doesn't do a ton of damage is the only problem. This makes you like an AoE stun, just a stun god. You can go into a group, knock them up. The problem is, you go into that group and knock them up, and then you are really reliant on someone else to do the damage. But I mean, I could probably still work this into my current build. Especially the way I play my current build, I'm just not using it right now. That is a very OP move. Let's see, as far as the rest of this, most of these are pretty damage. Yeah, that's pretty damage. That's pretty. I meant garbage. Pretty garbage. Charge in a direction, garbage. Continual punches, garbage. I've heard people like this. Honestly, I haven't played with it much. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it would depend on your range. I really don't play with it much. I might play around with it a little bit more. seen people use this in PvE. You basically drop a bell in an area. I mean, that could be useful for controlling an area. Garbage. Yeah, this 7-sided strike damage increase, like, okay, nice, but if you're doing, even if you do like 30,000 damage with 7-sided strike, and I'm just using that as a hypothetical. So you're running runic allies, 30,000 over 8 seconds or whatever. An extra 3,000 damage, you know, that's not a lot. You know what I mean? Take the utility. For me, this procs Vishtus, and it makes you so tanky. Decrease all the damage by 3.5, stacking 7 times. That's like 21. Let's see, 7 times 530. Yeah, that's like 25% damage reduction, roughly. Actually, it might be exactly, but I don't feel like doing the math that much. The pants, because I'm running the Vishtu build, I'm doing the Cyclone Strike, also temporarily decreases the damage I take by 20%. So I get 25% from the shoulder, I get 20% reduction from the pants. I can also stack the shield on there and reduce, and absorb 16,000 damage. And guess what? 16,000 damage. Does this damage reduction stack? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. If it does, you're taking, like, you're reducing damage input by 45%. That shield's gonna last a lot longer. I'm running 7-sided strike with burn damage just because that makes Cyclone Strike, gives it the whole Firestorm damage bit, which, does more damage. And the Crushing Palm with Reaching Rebuke, it's a mobility. You really got to think of it as a mobility thing. Like, yeah, there's that skill shot of potential, but you're pretty much using it to jump in close to an enemy, and drop your 7-sided strike, drop your cyclone. If you have time, with Vishtu, you've got like a 4 seconds that you've got increased attack speed, like, per ability. If I space these out, I could be running, 4 seconds for the shield, another 4 seconds out of the cyclone, another 4 seconds out of the 7-sided strike. The reality of it is, I'm not running the increased attack speed for 7 seconds or for 12 seconds, because I'm generally dropping this, one and then the other, so you get the burn damage. This Sandstorm produces Dust Storm, lasts 6 seconds, dealing 26,000 damage to enemies caught in the storm. It doesn't say anything about the Firestorm damage being higher, but it is. And decreases the damage I take. 7-sided strike, you deal 9,000 initial damage with each strike, and additional 6,000 burning damage over 3 seconds. And you get the extra damage from the storm. Reduce there. Yeah, alright. That's for range. Now, I'll show you the Vishtus. I love this set. It increases duration of beneficial effects on you or your party member for 30%. So, that includes this buff. Increases target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds. You get a 30% increase, which makes it roughly 4 seconds. For each time you use the skill that buffs you or party member. It's not only that, your your damage reduction that gets extended. That damage reduction, that buff gets extended. Urges. Now, the other two that I use right now are Monk Bank. Each time I take damage, I get a 20% chance to gain a shield that absorbs damage equal to 13% of max life. So, whatever my max life is, that shield will absorb 13% of my max life. That can happen at once every 9 seconds. And you'll see it procs fairly often in PvP. I like it. It gives me a little bit more tankiness. It just kind of saves you butt sometimes. Also, these are two of my highest. Well, I mean, you look. I don't have any gloves that are higher. I don't have any boots that are higher. Like, there's nothing that I'm gonna see that's gonna upgrade here. It is just what it is. And the drop off, like the 1,000 drop off to the gloves. It's like 1,000 drop off to the boots. The belt is an upgrade, but it's not as big of an upgrade. Although that is 3 slots, I could throw another health in there, but it's just what I'm running. This is, I switched the helmet around a decent amount. I just started playing around with this today. I think it does give a reasonably amount more damage potential. I don't think I'm killing myself taking this versus like the debuff cleanse legendary for the helmet. That's just good. You can, anytime that you can proc a shield, you're losing all of the stacks of frozen, which is really great. Or you're losing the bleed that's stacked on you, so now you can heal. Or you're losing the bile that's stacked on you. Like it's nice. It's a utility move. I do like it, but I'm just playing around with this right now. I might switch it later. Yeah, so that's pretty much the Vishtu build. See, I can hit that there, and you won't see the damage reduction because you have to hit someone to get that damage reduction. I hit that. You see Vishtu. Well, Cyclone's strike damage decrease was up there. You didn't really see the Vishtu proc. See, there's your Vishtu. Increases the attack speed. So I can actually proc that. Shoot. That was. You see what the Vishtu icon looks like. I can proc that with all 3 of these skills. Now, I know some people It is a very popular build. Other content creators are doing it. You can flying kick temporary increases damage you deal by 10%. That procs Vishtu. You also have 3 stacks of flying kick. So you can in all, for all intents and purposes, you can keep that 30% attack speed up indefinitely. Like absolutely indefinitely. For me, I just cannot justify losing losing that range jump. I just can't. For my playstyle, I just can't do it. If you see my videos, I can jump in, drop that, maybe drop a shield to fight in this little cyclone for a little bit, and then get out. I keep my deaths pretty low, and I'll show you here. I'm like kind of just a medium resonance right here. I'm under 2500 res, which, don't get me wrong, is, it's definitely not free to play. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of these other builds are, you really have to be a higher res for it to work. Like even to jump in, pop everyone up. Guess what? I have to count on someone else to, deal the damage. I think this is a good. This is the build I've run. This is the build I'm running. I've been climbing the ranks with it. I've tried some other stuff. I just couldn't. I was losing points. Like you saw how I struggled over the last couple weeks. I like this build. It's what I run. I swear by it. It's just what I do. Other stuff works for other people. Like for me, in a battleground, you can't necessarily trust that your teammates are gonna get the job done. There are definitely better utility builds, like for Rite of Exile, when you can count on the teammates beside you and communicate with them. But yeah, you just can't count on that in a normal battleground. But anyway, that's my build guide. Oh yeah, the other thing. So yeah, for Vishtu, you need this 4-piece. Like that 30% attack speed. That, in my opinion, that's, for a monk, that's your best. That's the best buff you're gonna get out of any set pieces. So you're aiming for that 4-piece Vishtu. The other two, the Mont Blancs, is very, very good utility 2-piece buff, 2-piece ability, whatever you want to call it, property, 2-piece property, whatever. The Shale Boss, primary attack damage increased by 15%. Like, alright, so let's look. Is it on my skills page? Will it? Yeah, okay. Each punch deals roughly 8,000 to 13,000 damage. All right, so 15% to that, you're talking like 1,200 to 2,000 ish damage. Like, let's be real, that's not going to. Now, you're talking on a per punch basis. So, it will stack. If you're laying down a lot of punches, that's going to stack. But, especially if you're a low resonance monk, you are not going to have the time to sit there and lay down a bunch of primary punches. You're pretty much jumping in, laying down a damage over time effect, which is what I do with the Cyclone Strike and the Triple S. 7-sided strike is Triple S, if you didn't know. I'm jumping in, I'm laying those down. I'm hitting as many basic attacks as I can manage. Proc the shield, try to proc the shield like a 4-second later type thing, extend my attack speed, and I jump out. If I'm jumping into, more than like 2 people, a lot of times I'm not sitting there punching, I'm jumping right back out. So you really don't get the utility of the shell boss. What's the other one I did play around with a little bit is the Feasting Baron pack. If you are going in and proccing stuns and CC and all that, extend the duration of the CC you cause. Now, if you look at our skills, actually it won't show, but if I do the Imprisoned Fist and I'm doing that, pop-up thing, it'll stun for 2 seconds. But go in here under potency, blah 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 blah, against players durations are reduced by 50%. So that 2 seconds that you stun someone ends up being 50%. Now, it's not a full 50% reduction because durations can be increased by up to 35%. It's not, but what I'm saying is that 30% longer or shorter CC, like if you're building, I guess what I'm saying is that's a different build entirely. If you're building a build to crowd control people, you would definitely look at the Feasting Barons pack. But I'm not with this build. I don't have any crowd control on, so that really doesn't help me. I will say the only thing I would, and I don't have this as a 6-piece. It's one of the few 6 pieces I don't have, but I would very much like to play around with this if I got that 6-piece. I would like to play with the 6-piece Windloft. Yeah, I increased my damage done by 20% while 1,000 Winds is active. Like, that's a pretty decent damage boost. Gain a shield that makes me immune to damage 5 times while 1,000 Winds is active. Granted, it's on a 40-second cooldown. I am intrigued by this. I could jump in, lay my abilities down, proc that shield, the shield will last for 5 seconds, but this also is going to eat 5 attacks and allow that shield to last longer. Like, I'm probably gonna get the full 5 seconds out of my shield, or I have a greater potential to get the 5 seconds out of the shield if I have this, but I don't right now. You know, if I get it, I'll play with it in the future. But yeah, this is where I'm at right now. Oh, the last thing really to look at is the Paragon. You're kind of limited on your gear. Like, you're pretty much gonna take, the best gear you get, whatever these attributes are gonna be. And, like, look at this. I increased my armor by 9, my armor penetration by 9, combat rating by 99. This one, yeah, increases life, willpower, increases potency by 10. It's like a 10% of whatever that number is. That's what you're gonna get. Like, you really don't, like, you build your stats off of this, but at the same time you're not gonna take, a big reduction in one stat just to build a specific stat with your gear. I will say, for PvP, for PvP, CR, combat rating doesn't matter as much. I'll show you why. Compared against other players, blah blah blah, modifies all damage you take. You can do. Yeah, this is mostly PvE for the first section. Against players, I cannot gain more than 10% damage increase or damage reduction. If you're a high combat rating playing in, PvP, you can deal a 10% bonus damage, take 10% less damage. It does stack up, but that combat rating is comparative. You can't control that. Like, you get in there, you're gonna be facing some higher players, you could be facing some lower players, and and no matter how high you stack it, you're only gonna get a 10% bonus. It is what it is. I mean, you just kind of build and let the combat rating fall where it will. Your magic rolls are definitely, I'd say that's what I try to focus on more for PvP, but also at the same point, because I'm trying to get into H5, I'm just kind of taking the best gear. Yeah, your magic rolls here, they can be make or break in PvP, but I mean, again, you're talking, you're not doing a ton. None of them are making a ton of difference. I will say attack speed and your crit modifiers are very good for PvP. Your cooldown reduction, very good. Crit hit damage, crit hit chance, very good. And a lot of your, resistances are very good. It doesn't even show you, your resistances on here. So, I don't even know necessarily where or how they're tracked. but I'm assuming they are. So yeah, I kind of went into all that to show that your main place that you really affect your stats here, like you will affect it some from your gear, but I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm going to choose a piece of gear because it has strength and vitality. I'll if I got something that has more strength and vitality, that I would just lose my fortitude stat. I wouldn't go so far as to say that at this point in time because yeah, it's just you're more so worried about getting your 4-piece bonus, getting your 2-piece bonus, and then you're mostly affecting your stats from your Paragon. This is how I have my Paragon. Armor is just kind of an afterthought. Armor penetration is a good stat to build, but for me, building a monk right now, I'm focusing on life and damage. The reason why they are the only two stats that get increased by your resonance. I did look at this the other day. I tested this the other day. These are the only things that get increased by your resonance. So, life and damage are the two things that I am focusing on. Once I get them maxed in the Paragon, I'm going to try to max my armor penetration as much as I can. So, I'll go into the Paragon real quick, show you how I've built. Vanquisher is really good because you're getting 5 damage stacks there, getting damage stacks there, you're getting life stacks here, and you're only wasting 1. And I say wasting, it's not really waste because it does increase your this is just great for rifts. It's a throwing a point in here. It's not bad for rifts. Throwing a point in here is definitely this will help your rifts, and your dungeons a lot. I wouldn't say those points are wasted, but because I'm focusing so PvP heavily, I haven't thrown points in them yet. Before I get into the other ones, we'll say Gladiator is your best friend if you're running PvP. Now, the Trapper, below 30% life, lay a trap every 5 yards. Guess what? The way I play with the Exploding Palm, jumping, and all that, Trapper just doesn't seem to work that. Like it doesn't do much for me. You're kind of relying on someone running over it. It's just not, in my opinion, not worth it. Like, yeah, so I don't build to that. I just build through this top here, get the health. You just kind of are stuck taking that resistance. Take the health, take the damage, get your cheat death. You need it. That's like the main reason of it. Rapid recovery is okay. It reduces the cooldowns by 10 seconds on your uncontrollable. So you get this every 20 seconds. What was the other one? Yeah, it also reduces the cooldown on Trapper by 10 seconds. That's not a big deal. It's nice, but for me and my focus on the life and the damage, I'm not going to spend 21 points to reduce the recovery time on quick witted from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Or, I'm sorry, not quick witted, uncontrollable. I'm not going to spend 21 levels of Paragon to get uncontrollable in 20 seconds instead of 30 seconds. It just, you know, you're not necessarily, till you jump in, layer AoE, continual moves down, jump out, and heal. You're not necessarily going back in before 30 seconds. And even so, you're just immune to one loss of control effect. It's very nice, but it's not. Yeah, it's just not worth putting those 21 points into it, in my opinion. So back to it. Survivor, you know, there's not a lot for you here. I took the 5 life here, grab me, decent amount of life total. That's the most I'm really gonna touch this right now. I would say for lower Paragon levels, I used this a lot, but as far as my goal of grabbing life and damage right now, just not high on the list. Treasure Hunter, for a cost of 6 quote wasted points, I can get to this damage here, and I gain a little bit more experience from farming elite monsters in the world. Yeah, it's a okay trade-off there. I already went over Gladiator, Mastermind. Okay, so to grab this, it actually costs a few points less. See, it would take me 20 Paragon to go down through this way, plus 1 there. Instead, I could skip all that by going 10 Paragon levels here. Now, I think there was a glitch where you only had to put 1 level into Armor Pen here. Armor Pen is a decent stat. I wouldn't be opposed to going that direction. Maybe I'll change it later. But this gets me to stack my life and damage faster. The last one, Soldier, I threw the point in there, and I'm stacking life right now. Once I get all my life stacked, I am potentially probably going to throw the 15 in resistance and go down to grab that damage, and then that's going to be all the life and damage total that I can grab in Paragon. Then I'm going to focus on armor penetration. That's my goal right now. I had built, prior to this, I had focused on damage and armor penetration, and your armor penetration is a good stat for PvP because that increases the damage you do against other players. Right now, my armor penetration is lower than expected. It only affects your crit damage. It does, so you get that base damage up, you're going to do more damage on a regular basis. Crit damage, it does for practical affects double damage when you crit. That's why it's nice to build that into your gear. Yeah, so from baseline of double damage, increasing damage reduction from blocking by what? Yeah. Anyway, I think armor is also somewhat decent because your armor reduces the amount of crit damage enemy does. But I haven't, as far as potency and resistance, I just have not been able to stack that to any great degree where durations are reduced more than 50% or are increased more than 35%. I'm just haven't been able to see it. Anyway, this video is getting long. I'm going to sign off and upload it. If people like it, great. I'm gonna try to put some timestamps in it, and hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Have a great day.